I saw that Llorente goal. Oh my gosh. The pass by Lorenzo Pellegrini was phenomenal. Left-footed, puts it probably about 35 yards, gets headed down by Indica, puts it on a plate for, oh man, an exquisite finish. And of course, that's not the whole story today. Guys, I'm Wayne Gerard. We're going to be breaking down Fiorentina-Roma, which has finished 2-2 at the Artemio Franchi in Florence. Okay, so this is a match that I saw late. Had to go back after the fact and look at it, analyze it, look at the De Rossi press conferences. We're going to do a little bit, see what the players had to say. And from what I understand, what I'm being told is that the second goal that Fiorentina scored came at the worst moment for Roma. And De Rossi echoed that as well. He said the Giallorossi were playing their best moment of the match. And then, of course, this goal comes out of nowhere. And speaking of out of nowhere, today it's a regrettable decision that Andrea Bellotti was loaned out to Fiorentina just because of how good he played today. And what type of player could he have been under De Rossi? Of course, this is revisionist history or just, I told you so type of stuff. And we don't really delve into that. But with De Rossi, it makes you think because he looks really good today. He was linking up with the rest of his team. He made the assist for that second goal. He draws the penalty against Paredes. Was it a penalty or not? I'm going to ask you right here. Was the PK legit? What do you think about this? I'm going to say no. Look, I understand when a player goes to ground or when a player feels that tug at a professional level, they jump to the ground because, yes, it is legally by the laws of the game that is a foul. However, shouldn't there be some discretion about, well, how much was just his hand on? What did he just clip him? Or was he actually holding him back? Because what I don't see, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't see Paredes holding him back. I do see his hand on him. Look, I get it. Doesn't look like a penalty to me. In no way to me is a full-grown man being impeded their motion at all. So Svilar is definitely my man of the match. I'm going to throw that out there real early. He was unbelievable. Another penalty kick save. Guesses Biraghi. I don't you want to call it a guess. He had the instinct. He has the knowledge. He was able to read him. When I was looking at Biraghi, when he stepped up to take it, I thought it was pretty hard to decide, but Svilar must have practiced it. They must have went over it in training. I'm going to jump to the comments and see how everybody is doing. And yeah, I think we look back at these players who seemed they were so criticized, Svilar and the rest of them. And Pinto now looks like a really great general manager, sporting director, whatever. All hail Pinto for sure. Joe Cicero says Fiorentina's second goal shouldn't have counted, in my opinion. Bellotti fouled Llorente, and now they're going back. There's a bunch of footage out there right now showing what Joe is saying, in that it does seem that there was a foul where Bellotti did foul Llorente. And I want to take a look at the rest of Serie A as we go through today. 5 years ago, that isn't a penalty, and I think that's true. Like, no way. The game has gotten too soft. If we're going to be calling that as a penalty, where does it end? I mean, you put your hand on his shoulder, we're going to call that? It's too soft, guys. It's too soft, my friends. Vincent's here. He says, does not want to see Bellotti in a Roma shirt again after today. I was thinking the opposite. I was like, let's get this guy back. Let's get him in red and yellow. But I understand it's kind of a sore topic after how good he played today. Ioannis checks in, says, De Rossi made some bad calls with the lineup, and we should take a look at that. Lost an entire half due to it. But once the lineup was switched up, Roma were unlucky with that second goal. Also says the PK was legit. He held his arm out when Bellotti turned. Okay. And that's why I asked, because we're going to have differences of opinions. But speaking about that starting lineup, De Rossi, yes, he switches to a back four going into the second half. The team play significantly better. They're able to handle that full press that Fiorentina and Italiano's men had in the first 45 minutes. But let's look at that 3-5-2 or 3-4-3, really. Svilar in net, right to left, Mancini, Llorente, Indica. We'll go back to that. We'll go back to Mancini. Angelino. They say Angelino. I would have assumed Angelino, given that it's a Spanish last name, but all the Italian commentators say Angelino. Cristante Paredes, no surprise there, but the shocker was Aouar in the center attacking mid role, more advanced of the three there, in place of Lorenzo Pellegrini. Nobody from Il Tempo to Il Messaggero to Gazzetta dello Sport or Corriere dello Sport had predicted that Aouar would have started over Pellegrini, which shows you how much the tabloids really know. Not much. This is as good a guess as you and I talking here tonight. Stefan El Shaarawy on the left with Dybala and Lukaku up top. One thing I'm going to throw in here before I forget to mention it, Dybala put in a really strong game today, and I don't mean in the top half. I mean so in that he dropped into deep positions. He played a little bit more withdrawn than he's been accustomed to under De Rossi. So he was able to see the field a little bit more. He had some really great passes. There was a sequence, I think in the 40th minute, it could have been like the 50th, where he had the ball in the middle of the pitch, and then he played somebody, and I think it was El Shaarawy who headed it into Cristante, I believe, who had the shot. Anyway, back to Mancini. Posted on Twitter something around like the 25th minute. I said, Mancini, he's definitely coming out at halftime, right? But I was wrong. It was, in fact, just 5 minutes after. In the 33rd minute, Gianluca Mancini is withdrawn, pulled away from this match. Deservedly so. He was completely out of sorts. He could not contain Sotil. Was this because of the change in formation? Was it because Sotil is just a very fast defender and he caught Mancini out? Okay, center back Llorente. Also, I want to mention that Smalling was the player who was rumored to be starting this, not Llorente. Out on the left, Ndika. Ndika, one mistake, and it was Fiorentina's first goal. Otherwise, outstanding match by Evan Ndika. I thought he played brilliant. He broke up the plays. He made at least 2 goal-saving tackles throughout this match. I think both were in the first half because I saw them with my own eyes. And as I mentioned, I missed the second half. I had to watch it after the fact. Paredes, Cristante Paredes. Yeah, he had a tough match. He had some good moments, but we know he caught the yellow. We know he caused the penalty kick. El Shaarawy doing more of a utility role here today. And Aouar, a lot of criticism about Hussein Aouar. Okay, he gets the goal, right? But the goal is not the full story. Some people will criticize his intensity. However, his coach did not. His coach said that he's very happy with his evolution thus far. And Dybala, Lukaku up top. And Lukaku almost got a goal within, I think, the first, like the 19th or 18th minute. He had a good shot on net. But yeah, he did allude to that there would be no more 3-man back line. I think he's pretty set on going forward with the back four. As we go towards the substitutions, Icone comes in, Duncan, who I'm surprised is not starting for Fiorentina, Barak in the 90th, Arthur, and Nzola. These were time-wasting techniques by Italiano, and they did not work out. And then for Roma, we see, aside from Huijsen, who comes in for Mancini, we've got Zalewski, steps in with Baldanzi, takes out Dybala. Spinazzola and Pellegrini enters with just 10 minutes remaining in regular time. But one thing that I think is cool here on FOTMob is the momentum. So up until halftime, and one thing you'll notice is of course, purple is Fiorentina here, and you can see they were all over Roma. And then the 45th minute, they step back onto the pitch. Things change. Roma gets their bearings with the new formation, and then we see the big red wave. Of course, there were those few moments right there. Fiorentina gets their goal, but Roma's comes right here. And then, of course, their momentum as they're applying pressure towards the end of this match. 67% possession for Roma. XG, not great, though. Just 0.6 compared to Fiorentina's 2. So they matched their XG. Shots on target, even 5. Big chances, though, for Fiorentina, 4. It's not what you want to see, whereas Roma's only got 1. And that's pretty much as we could take out of those team stats here. As we go into individuals, let's see who had the most shots. It was Aouar and for Roma, and Belotti actually for Fiorentina with 5. But we can go to all players there. Yeah, Belotti's going to lead that for Fiorentina for sure. Passes. Let's see who this looks like for Roma. I want to exclude center backs here. Paredes, not much expected assist, but 2 chances created, 8 passes into the final third. Biraghi, quite a lot of passes into the final third there. Aouar, 6 passes into the final third. This is the stat I really like too. This in chances created. We could see Dybala with 2 chances created, 5 passes into the final third. These are really, when it comes to passing, what I want to know. Ranieri had a really good game. Aside from his goal, you could see his offensive impact there. And that's about it. That's about the most significant offensive stats for Roma in this game. Roma ranked 2 in goals scored per match, averaging 2 goals. So unbeaten in 5 away matches now. I guess that's 6. Unbeaten in 6 away matches. So let's go back to some comments. We're going to read some player comments as well, what they had to say after this match. Joe says he doesn't understand Cristante's role in the starting 11. He isn't good at anything, but he does give 100% every game. How do you feel about him? To me, Cristante is a great guy in the locker room. He's a great player that you want on your bench in a long season. Is he a starter for me as a holding midfielder? I'll tell you that there's players I would prefer if we're going to talk about like ideal players. Like if we can even go back to like Granit Xhaka. To me, he's an ideal holding midfielder. There's other guys out there, and you could look across Serie A, I think, and find players who would fit that mold better. If Roma had somebody like, let's say, even Verratti, who plays a little bit more deeper now, just for example, or even like a Maxime Lopez, I don't know if I see Cristante starting, but the coaches love him. Like you said, Joe, he seems to be in every starting lineup. Even Spalletti, I think, brings Cristante. But, I mean, take a look at a player like Guimaraes from Newcastle, right? That shows you the type of player you really want in that role. Somebody who's a little bit calmer on the ball. But I wonder if Cristante's mistakes come from the fact that he played attacking mid most of his career. Okay, Ioannis says, contrary to Vincent, he feels like Belotti probably could work better than Zardar, than Asmun, and De Rossi's style. And maybe there is some truth to that. Okay, let's keep it going, guys. I still have this question here. Just, we can't always only talk about this when times are good, when Roma win big. Should Dybala get that number 10? I think that's like a continuous theme throughout this. No, Roma don't win. We can't put that up today. Patrick's not here today, by the way, unfortunately. I don't know what he's doing, but anyway, let's go to some comments from Awar. And this is on ForzaRoma.info. I got this from. This is what I thought was the best question and answer from his little interview. He said, last year was a very difficult season for me due to many factors that I don't want to talk about. He says, I have to work every day to be physically ready. It's a new championship for me. I have to learn how to play here in Italy, different compared to France. Here, it's more tactical. Little by little, I'm improving to help this team and this club. I want to do it. For me, it's a great opportunity to be at Roma, and I realized I should be posting that for you. Says, little by little, I am improving to help this team and club. I want to do it. Great opportunity. I'll do everything to be ready for the fans and the coach. So I do see that Aouar will get increased time as the season, and Pellegrini, I think he'll be that guy who steps in when Pellegrini needs a breather. Of course, the captain has become fundamental to the way that De Rossi likes to play. But I wanted to go also to Llorente. That's the man of the hour, right? He says he wasn't happy with the performance, though. He speaks to DAZN after the match. He says, yeah, I'm happy with the goal, but I think we didn't have a good performance today. We have to work as a team and also individually. How much difficulty did Mancino's yellow card cause for you? Good question. He says, yeah, Mancini, Paredes, Huijsen, many with the yellow, but in the end, we had confidence. A good point for the team. So he doesn't really answer that. He doesn't answer like the intricacies of, well, it made me play deeper. It made me play on a higher line, whatever. Like he doesn't explain really. Spilari says he had a great performance with a goalkeeper like this. We can do great things. Fifth place by yourselves. Does this chase for the Champions League continue? And he says, you come up with this character every match. You must be like you must approach it like it's the last of the season. So it's right. It's not the time to relax. This is not a time to get complacent. And if we look at the leaderboards real quick, let's go to these standings, and we could see, well, we know who's up top, but really the conversation's about 4th through 7th. And we can see who is that in 7th? Napoli, who's been doing pretty good, but they drew It's decent seventh place form, not to throw any shade there, but Atalanta draw level against Juventus was at Max Allegri's 1000th appearance on a bench, I think. Okay, yes, Roma could have gained ground. They could have been within 1 point of fourth place of Bologna, but there is that matchup coming quite soon. We look in the future schedule. Roma doesn't have the easiest time going forward. We could see Brighton, that's going to be in a few days. Roma's great on aggregate. But as we get past Sassuolo and Lecce, we see the derby is approaching April 7th. Then we've got Udinese. Then it's Bologna, April 21st. Week after that, Napoli. Week after that, Juventus. Week after that, Atalanta. Yeah, and then as my wife just said, then we'll see what De Rossi's made of. No. De Rossi contract for 5 years. De Rossi lifetime contract. Just give it to him already. Anyway, that's Milan, Atalanta, Juventus, Napoli, Bologna, and Lazio to finish off this season, not including Roma, who should be advancing into the quarterfinals of the Europa League and hopefully making it all the way to Dublin. So, oh boy, there's a lot to be going on here, but I should probably get that banner out of here. Yeah, we're not talking about Dybala at the moment. That's really tough, my friends. Lazio are falling off a little bit, but you know that form doesn't matter when it goes into a derby. Napoli looking sharper and sharper. Kvaratskhelia is having a world-class second half of the season. Some of the goals this kid scores, I can't imagine he stays at Napoli much longer. He's destined for, Napoli's a good team, but he's destined for a great team, is he not? But I'll tell you what I'm afraid of is that tie today. Coop Miners had a brace against Juventus. Honestly, I get the gut feeling that Juventus are going to sign Coop Miners, and then they'll be a serious second place team. Then they can really confirm themselves as the second best team in Italy. It's going to take a little bit more for me to admit that for Roma. I think there's a few more gaps in this team that need to be addressed in the summer. But anyway, we got through Llorente. We spoke about Aouar. It is time, my friends, to go to the De Rossi press conference. So we're not going to go through the whole thing today. We are going to go through about five best quotes, which I felt, because these press conferences, they're long. Sometimes the questions are quite obvious. So I felt that for the sake of everyone's time and for efficiency, let's get to these top 5 quotes here. Going through my Twitter. How important is it not to have lost your style of play? He says, I had Karsdorp and Salik warmed up to immediately put me at a back line of a 4, but I thought we could do it later in the match. He says, we didn't have much space, and in fact, we suffered from key free kicks. Keeping Hoytson allowed me not to waste a sub. It is essential not to lose, not only for the ranking, but also for the enthusiasm, the psychological aspect. I don't celebrate draws, but we drew against a strong team. This is what I felt. I felt that Fiorentina did not look like what are they? 8th? Not look like an 8th place team. Yeah, 43 points. So actually they're above Lazio. That's surprising. They look very strong today, and they've got the depth. They've got Nico Gonzalez, Bonaventura, and now Andrea Bellotti, of course. He says, we had this right attitude until the end. In a championship, there are these matches here, day and night, pass between losing and drawing. We need the enthusiasm of those 3 minutes spent in the away section. Speaking of the away section, the the away section at the Artemio Franchi is terrible. It's got to be the worst seat in the house. Like, I don't know if Joe Barone, I don't think that him and Rocco Camiso are watching this stream right now, but I will tell you, like, they've got to get rid of that space between the curva and the field, like the pitch. They've got to make something there to increase the fan experience. But anyway, back to the second question. How is Dybala? Aouar, how is his game? He says, Dybala played a great game. He took the ball in positions less suited to the usual ones. He often lent a hand to build up. I liked him. He came out, but he doesn't have anything in particular, like no big issue in particular. He's just a little tired, but he's there because he's playing a lot. By the way, guys, keep leaving questions and comments, please, and throw a like up there. Aouar, he says, is very strong. He scored a good goal, which will give him morale. I'm happy he put in 90 minutes. He deserves to be in this group because he has always trained with great intensity. You see, I like his evolution. When I arrived, he was a different player. With morale skyrocketing, he can lend us a hand. And I think it's that morale which made everyone notice him at first. When he was at Lyon, Aouar's not old. I think he's about 24 or 25 now. I'm going to double check that. 25. But this was one of the most highly regarded center midfielders in France for a few years, at least prospects. Why did you get rid of the initial way of playing? He says, for me, Angelino can stay high on the right. I thought this was weird. He said, I like the idea of the inverted foot there too, both to free himself from the pressing and to go first on Lukaku and go under him to then go to the other side, make like an underlapping run. He says, it didn't work very well, but it's another conversation. Didn't work very well. I don't know if we're going to see that again with Angelino on the right. How do you motivate your team at halftime? He says, I said we would go back to a back four, which is what the boys and I liked best. There was a clear tactical change, therefore an admission of that things were wrong, but we were also losing all the aerial duels. Football is about schemes and formations, but if players 1.7 meters tall jump on your head and take all the second balls, it means balls in the air. It's tough, regardless of whether you play with 3 or 4. We had a good second half and took the 2-1 in the best moment. And we know that was the best moment because we looked at the progress on FOTMOB there before on this chart, right? To go back to this real quickly. That was Roma's best moment. We see that. They had from 58 to 67, they had dominated the match. So for approximately 10 whole minutes, Roma were killing it, and that Fiorentina goal comes out of nowhere. He says, still later, after 2 months, this team continues to amaze me. We get back on our feet after playing against a strong team, synonymous with a great one. How do you motivate the players through the progress of the match? He says, against teams that pressed you so hard, it's always a waste of energy. But we can't get too tired because the team finished by pushing hard. Physically, we had a good match. Okay, so that takes care of today's press conference. I think we can go back to comments, and we'll make this a shorter stream today. I don't think we've got anything crazy to go over, so respect your time, right? We're not going to. Let's see what we got here. LB says, good mention on the defensive work by Dybala. Another great game. Keep him and Anadika, and Roma have a chance next year if they make the Champions League. Yeah, we look back at Pinto's work, and who was it at the beginning of this stream says, it was you. Says, all hail Pinto. Yeah, LB. Indika comes over on a free. Indika's probably a 45, 50 million euro player, to be honest with you, especially after that the Ivory Coast won AFCON. Ioana says, I'd give Dybala the number 10 if he does what Totti did, sign a long-term contract that ties into a Roma for at least 3 years. Yes, I agree with this. Joe says, the ref did not let Roma get away with anything. I felt this way too, Joe. The ref he had it out for Roma today. I don't know why. Mancini could not play his style because of it. I did feel like even there was one push Mancini had, but the opposition, the attacker, put his elbow out. So Mancini did what a good center back does, and he ripped his arm down and then went into him. Like, I see it both sides, all right? Joe says he doesn't see Roma losing any more home games. Well, I hope, Joe. I hope that's the case there. Ioana says he really liked. Yes. Michael Coyote is going to be part of the Azzurri setup, I think, for the next probably 10, 12 years, at least. This is a really good right back here. Was he 19 years old? Tracking back to the question you asked last game, I think if Roma were to sell some of our players in that position, he'd be a great backup and future prospect. I think you keep a player like either Selic or Karsdorp, and you go for a Coyote. So if you guys want to just check his profile out, I'm going to pull it up here. I wonder what I'm going to say transfer market rates him at. Let's go 10 million euros, just because I think they probably aren't keeping tabs on him the same way that we are. Let's see what we got. Not the advertisement there. Okay. So he's almost 1.8 meters. He's quite tall. I think that's 6'4". Here we go. Current market value about 12 million. That seems about accurate. So you see that rising. Pretty cool. And as you could see here, he is involved in the Italian youth setup, even the U21s. He's got a cap. He's been there. 12 caps for the Italian U19 team, and he has Nigerian citizenship as well. So Italy better get on the ball and give him that call up. I am going to the game, by the way, guys. I'm going to see Italy, Ecuador at Red Bull Stadium. Maybe we'll get to see Coyote for his first cap. That would be pretty cool. But let's go back to stop sharing, stop screen. There we go. There we go. Joe says he noticed Dybala gets more fatigued in a three-man defense because he drops deep because our midfield can't receive the ball under pressure. So he basically does their job. Kind of. Yeah. There's well, I will say that Pellegrini has been that solution in that he plays on the half turn quite often, but the other defenders don't. But I see what you're saying. And then at three-man, he does. I mean, under Mourinho, we saw so many times where he would drop back and become that overload midfield. But what that does is it hurts Roma's offensive capability and chances, really getting, making big chances, as we say. All right, guys. We'll be back. We've got the Brighton preview coming up. We'll do probably not an episode, but like a short, probably do something really quickly, like 60 seconds. Oh, a starting lineup, taking the formation off of Gazzetta dello Sport. Maybe if I keep meaning to do like a Serie A review for each week. That's a project I have down the pipeline. I'm going to see how that would make the most sense and if people would be interested in it as well. So not just Roma, but like a 5-10 minute Serie A recap, let's say at the end of every round. So let me know what you think, guys. Leave a comment, show some love, and we'll be back. What's our next game? Yeah, post-match Roma Brighton in England. Talk to you then, guys. Ciao.